Ahoy hoy, I'm Planewalk, and whenever you get into conspiracies, there is always a thing that you inevitably get to, and that's a shadowy group of people that are just ruling everything in the world. And it may not be a group of people, it might be lizard people or Klingons or whatever. And this group of people is so good at hiding itself from the general public that conspiracy theorists like flat earthers are the only people that are smart enough to figure out... Flat earthers being smart. What has this world come to? Flat earthers are the only people smart enough to figure out that the Illuminati exists, guys. I've just got to say, if you're in a movement where flat earthers would have to be considered intelligent, you're in the wrong movement. So today we're going to be looking at a video by Dyer that gives 10 reasons that the Illuminati exists. I hope it's not just, oh, look at these triangles, Illuminati confirmed.
You knew it was coming, and I had to make it the top 10 reasons that the Illuminati is real. Now, for a long time, this was a crazy conspiracy theory. You weren't supposed to talk about this, and if you talked about it, you were crazy. And then the last year has been nothing but vindication of those crazy conspiracy theorists like myself who believe and have taught and talked about the existence of a very powerful secret society that doesn't run everything, but has a lot of power in the world.
So first thing to keep in mind, that this was made at the start of 2020, before the whole pandemic happened. But regardless of when this made, he's still just a crazy conspiracy theorist. You need to be off your rockers to be a conspiracy theorist. Also, I like how he said that the Illuminati doesn't rule everything, they've just got a lot of power, which means that he can point to any group of people that have a lot of power and say, look, Illuminati. But you can almost guarantee that he'd think that the UN is run by the Illuminati or something. Oh, and I almost forgot. I need to put my tinfoil hat on. There we go.
Number 10. Have you seen movies and music in the last 10, 15 years? Have you noticed that there's all-seeing eyes and weird gestures and crazy stuff going on all the time everywhere in pop culture?
Wait, so your first bit of evidence that the Illuminati, the secret organization that is supposedly controlling everything, is that they're giving everyone clues that the Illuminati exists in movies and stuff. Have you considered the possibility that maybe you're just reading a little bit too much into these things? Also, this is giving me a bit of a headache, so I'm going to take that off. Oh, that's better. Whew. That is a lesson for everyone. Do not put flat earth near your head for too long because it can cause damage. It emits radioactive stupidity, which is just the worst kind.
In fashion, so-called fashion, this is fashion.
How is that supposed to be Illuminati? I don't see any symbolism for the Illuminati there whatsoever. Like, was it the glasses? If I just put glasses on, does that mean that I'm giving symbolism for the Illuminati now, does it? If so, NASA better start paying me more.
Music covers, album covers, music videos, like this.
It's literally just something that looks kind of triangular and light going through it. That doesn't mean that they're in the Illuminati or whatever.
Pop culture, books, fiction, vampires, Harry Potter, magic, the occult, now Disney with this, right?
That's just people writing fiction about things that they want to write fiction about. That doesn't mean that they're in the Illuminati. People like reading stories about vampires or stuff.
So that's one great example I could think of right away, is that the eyes and the pyramids and the symbolism is all pervasive in pop culture.
It's not a good example. It's you reading way too deeply into it because you want the Illuminati to exist.
And pop culture is supposed to be popular. It's supposed to be what everybody's into, right? Or is it something that comes top down that, like a symbiotic feedback loop, just perpetuates itself and then spreads like a meme, like a virus throughout the toxic culture that's created through culture creation?
Pop culture just comes from whatever people like. If people like vampires, then vampires will be a part of pop culture. If people like, Magic the Gathering, then Magic the Gathering will be a part of pop culture. The same goes for all entertainment. If enough people like a thing, then it will just be considered pop culture.
Number 9, society goes in a set direction. And not only does the pop culture show it, the rest of culture seems to consistently go in a certain direction. Why do we see the transhuman agenda continue, right, to be promoted? Everything becoming basically part of the Internet of Things, right? The rise of the Internet of Things, the rise of culture going in this direction, surveillance culture.
Because, believe it or not, it's just really convenient to be able to message someone halfway across the world whenever I want. And I just asked Conspiracy Cats about it, and he says that it's amazing. And also, you'd probably find it really convenient for people to be able to just sit on a bus and watch your videos on the go. If there wasn't such a push for technology to be advanced, then that kind of stuff wouldn't happen. There are obviously problems with some technological ideas, like Neuralink, for example, but that doesn't mean that the entirety of technology is bad.
The loss of personal liberties, right? All of that suggests, again, coordinated steering and moving society in a certain direction. And unless you naively believe that everything in the world is just one damn thing after another, Epstein has no connection to anything. It just happens, right? Oh, it just happens, right? Unless you have the total gray goo mindset of that, then there's got to be coordination, right?
Well, no, not everything has to be coordinated. Sure, there will be times when a technology or something will be pushed for by the company that makes that technology, because obviously they have an incentive to be able to sell that technology. Like Facebook has Meta has an incentive to push the metaverse. But just because companies have an incentive to push certain technology does not mean that the Illuminati exists.
Number 8 is Eyes Wide Shut. Have you ever seen Eyes Wide Shut? So here's a movie that's supposed to be fiction telling you about the elite with basically dirty parties, entrapping people, getting dirt on people. And so Epstein Jeffrey was already told to you by the top of Hollywood, namely Stanley Kubrick, right?
Or it could be that Eyes Wide Shut is a work of fiction. Now, I haven't actually seen the movie, so I don't really know what goes on in it. Now, it's certainly possible, and maybe even probable, that there are certain parallels to the real world in it. Fiction writers do often put parallels in their work in order to make it more relatable. Squid Game is a classic example of this, where you have a whole lot of people getting in debt, much like people do in the real world, and no realistic way to get out of that debt. But just because you have that parallel to the real world, doesn't mean that you actually have a whole lot of rich people that are forcing people to play these Squid Games.
Number 7, the frogs are gay.
The gay frogs thing. People tend to misrepresent what the actual science is behind that. What a certain study found is that a certain pesticide would lower the testosterone of frogs, and some of those frogs would essentially turn into female frogs and mate with male frogs. And this would produce offspring. So it wasn't really turning the frogs gay. It was more giving the frogs transition goals.
But the drop in fertility, the intentional placement of BPA and these sort of toxins, the intentional promotion of soy, and the intentional promotion of the vegan Extinction Rebellion movement that suddenly out of nowhere, right?
So let's start on that point by talking about the drop in fertility and BPA. So it has been found that over the last 60 years that the sperm count of males has been dropping. A likely cause for this could be due to toxins in the environment. And BPA could be one of those toxins. Now, BPA wasn't intentionally put into things to be harmful to humans. It was a plastic hardener. And when it was initially being used, we didn't know all the effects that it could have on the human body. It was kind of like how, for example, lead was widely used until we realized, wait, this is quite dangerous. The difference between lead and BPA, though, is that with lead, we know that it can have negative effects. With BPA, it's like, yeah, there could be some negative effects. And even though there's no real conclusive evidence of whether BPA is harmful, there are some places that do try to reduce the amount of BPA that we use. So BPA being put in products is not some kind of conspiracy to lower the fertility of humans. It's something that could have that effect, but we don't necessarily know. There could be other toxins in the environment that we've been exposed to that are lowering your sperm count. They aren't being placed there intentionally, it's just that we might not know about what their effects are. As for the soy bit, soy does not reduce sperm count. You need to stop getting your info from Paul Joseph Watson. Now, as for the Extinction Rebellion movement just popping up out of nowhere, it didn't pop up out of nowhere. It's because climate change is a threat. It's weird that people would be not too happy about the prospect of dying from climate change.
Number 6, the DNA, genetics, biometrics realm of things, right? This obsession with tracking and tracing everything, the obsession with giant DNA facilities, tracking everybody's lineage, knowing everything about everybody's background, bloodlines of the elite. Guess what? There actually is an important aspect to bloodline and lineage to the elite.
Or maybe people just like knowing where their great-great-great-great-grandparents are from. I myself wonder about that. Like, I would like to know if I'm part French, because that would be hilarious to me considering my last video. There is also the fact that DNA evidence is quite useful when trying to figure out who exactly committed the crime. And obviously biometrics are being used quite pervasively when it comes to electronic devices. That's because some people find it far more convenient to just look at their phone or press their finger to their phone to have it unlock, rather than having to enter a PIN code.
Elon has talked about this. He's got big plans for this in the next year, so I think that's a pretty powerful number 6 to demonstrate this.
Just so you know, when Elon says that he has big plans for something, take what he says, scale it down to the point where it becomes comical, and that's what you'll get.
Number 5, the rise of witchcraft, Wicca, and dark occultism, and outright Satanism.
Yeah, that's because not everybody is a Christian, and not being Christian has become more accepted as time has gone on. And also, it's not like all these things are bad. I recently had someone who just so happened to be a Satanist feature in one of my videos. She really didn't seem like she was evil to me. The only evil thing that she really did was be the highlight of the video for a lot of people. And people who have seen that video will know who I am talking about.
Even to the point of the Vatican itself essentially promoting these kind of loose syncretistic practices with Pachamama, right? The Amazon Synod, the Pope, going back to the 80s, doing the Assisi gatherings where he's praying together with all the world religions, right? So that's a kind of light, watered-down version of occultism.
Not really, that's just the Pope acknowledging that other religions exist and not trying to be divisive. I actually think that it's a good thing if religious leaders say, we want unity with other religions rather than trying to be so divided on our beliefs. Because it's not exactly a good thing if humans are at each other's throats about things.
And then you get to the more darker stuff, that we see with people like Jimmy Savile and that kind of stuff.
I really don't see what Jimmy Savile has to do with occultism. There are many people who are into the occult that are just fine people. And the ones that do all the weird stuff are an extremely fringe minority. Maybe actually try talking to someone who's into the occult and then get their opinions on stuff.
The rise of those things, it's booming supposedly amongst millennials and younger, according to the mainstream media, right? So and the promotion of that occultism through Hollywood as well, which we saw, that was number 10, but specifically not just the pop culture stuff, but here in number 5, the actual growth of people interested in the occult and occultism. That to me suggests Illuminati Confirm.
That's not really good evidence for the Illuminati because people are interested in all kinds of different things. You could just as easily say that rock and roll and heavy metal are proof that the Illuminati exists. In fact, I could say that Dyer is part of the Illuminati because he has a bookshelf behind him. And as the bookshelves get further into the distance, they get darker and ominous, and that's Illuminati confirmed. You see, me and my tinfoil hat have worked this out. Jay is actually part of the Illuminati. We've confirmed it, guys. Everyone's going to have to let Jay know that he is actually part of the Illuminati because, you can just say anything if you make stuff up. So I think I should end this video here for now. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a part 2. Because we're only about halfway through the video and he's got 6 more reasons that the Illuminati exists. But with that, leave a like and subscribe if you like this video. Make sure you ring the bell notification icon so you actually get notified of when I post new videos. As always, a big shout out to my $20 or more patrons. Hugh Jarsz, M.C.Nutkin, SHaKie, Wolfie, Morrie, Graymore Ghost, KidVicious, Sacha Campbell, and Militant Agnostic. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. There should be a link right there. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.